point of view, it changes from a employee standpoint of view. Each and every change which is visible, it's a big change in an organization, and ERP coming into an organization is a big thing. Then operations support and enhancement. So typically once the ERP is delivered, normally there are some changes in the processes, so they are typically called as enhancements, or there are support tickets which come, like there are some errors or there are some training requests, so we have to cater to that as well. So this is the diagram I was referring to. So this is essentially a diagram for an ERP program. So whenever a company wants to automate its IT processes, not exactly an ERP, but any other automation program will also have similar. Now, some of the things might scale down based on the size of the company. So, as MBAs, you are, knowledgeable enough to, make a difference between the large caps and the small entities. So, some of the things like steering committee, for a large cap, it will be very much required because they have very complex set of business and very complex structure of organization structure, many divisions. So they will need a steering committee to monitor the entire. When you have some function heads or process owners who are going to drive this program within the organization. Then there are functional representatives, which are typically called as in an ERP as a core team. So core team is basically the team which moves from the business into the IT function for the implementation and actually guides the people who are participating in the implementation and ensures that the functional requirements are mapped correctly in the system. Then ERP team is basically the core team which is more from a techno-functional background, not the end user background. So these are typically all power users. Now again, as I told you, not all companies will have all of these, but mostly all of these will exist in some form or the other. Then you have technical consultants and functional consultants. So typically and in the inner circle you can see what are the roles they are playing basically. So typically technical consultants will be programmers, then people who manage the hardware or the other technical part of the implementation, and PMs or the functional consultants are the people who have knowledge of the ERP, of the processes. Okay. Then there are certain supporting functions like IS, that is the information systems which support the infrastructure of an ERP implementation. Then the process engineering group, which basically looks at the quality aspect of the project. Then the security. So IS security is a very vast topic. It will take almost not a 1 hour but a full day to discuss about what is the IS security. So you must have learned that we have an information security law, we have cyber laws in place now. So basically to protect your organization's data from any intruder or internal say employees trying to misuse the data or hacking or some such sort of information systems security attack. So those things are taken care of by this, and then there are certain tools team which help you in various aspects of the project. And then you arrive at an implemented solution, and of course not to forget the end user who is actually going to work on the ERP. So this is again the same thing what I've but it is more in a chart form. So what are the critical success factors? I'll try to pose this question to the audience here. So I think I'm almost towards the end of my presentation. So what are the typical success factors which an company would look at when it implements an ERP? So can somebody answer this question? So yeah.
Time saving?
Yeah, I think that is also very apt answer.
It is the efficiency of the organization.
Yeah, I think the gentleman there has very aptly said, it improves the efficiency. So if an ERP implementation doesn't improve the efficiency of the organization, then I think your ERP implementation needs to have you need to have a relook at your ERP implementation. So essentially any ERP implementation must result into large scale business benefits for the organization. So the ROI has to be proved. When you make an investment, any investment has to have an ROI. So one ROI is certainly improvement in the efficiency. Various processes, they undergo a lot of change when an ERP implements, and it is for the good. So efficiency is improved. Any more answers to this? So I think inventory costs going down is a very good answer. I think time saving is also one of the answers, good answers. So yeah, so I think this is also a very important aspect. Typically when your processes are in a dismantled format, or some processes are manual, some processes are automated, you have very limited control on these processes. Whereas when the processes get automated, there is a central monitoring of the processes. So the control on the typical cases of say fraud or SOD issues would not come up when an ERP is well implemented and maintained. So I think security is also important aspect. So the aspect of governance, risk and control is very well taken care of in ERP. I think it is one of the distinctive features an ERP has. Okay, so I think you have mostly covered them, but I think I will just go through the points which I have tried to put. So there are certain management areas. So whether the ERP program has was able to manage the expectations set by the management, then whether the decisions decisions which were taken have gone correctly, then whether the implementation partner was correct, and whether the implementation partner you have selected was, then you may not have to wait for the final rollout to happen to see the visibility of the success factors. So there has to be some intermittent visibility about. So typically ERP doesn't get stabilized immediately after rollout. So it typically takes around a year or so to get the ERP stabilized. So there has to be some intermittent visibility of success factors. Then design aspects, you have to select the right footprint. Now footprint is basically what are the processes which you are trying to map with the ERP is called a footprint. Then establishing the business processes in an ERP is also one of the important design aspects. Then doing the right configuration. Sometimes it so happens is that the process mapping is very good, the footprint or the selection of an ERP is very good, but the configuration is not done in a correct manner. So that also we need to, and ensure that you don't do too much of customization. Customization means you are writing a code into the program of a vendor. So the vendor never takes responsibility of this code. Maybe I am talking a bit technical, I mean, pardon me if I am talking too technical. So in a simple words is that you have to implement the standard processes which have been given by the ERP vendor. Typically companies are habituated to making changes to the ERP. They don't try to align their processes to the ERP. They want the ERP to be aligned to their processes. So that is a typical syndrome which we have, especially in India. So we don't believe in best practices sometimes. So then education of users and strong user processes. They are also critical success factors. Ownership by the functions for the program. Now, typically any ERP implementation is many times, seldom it is looked as a business project. It is often looked as an IT project. So it is never an IT project. And ERP is always a business project. It is by the business, for the business, and business people have to participate to make it successful. So IT people are basically enablers to make it successful. So business teams have to come forward. So ownership of the program by the business community is very, and most important that this is a big change management. In ERP is a very big change management. So there has to be a strong management commitment right from the board of directors to the management council. Very senior team members have to have a very frequent review of the program to make it successful. I think these are more technical terms. So what are the steps in implementation? I would like to skip. What are the project documentation? And this is the methodology. What are the best practices? So I'll just ponder over this important aspect. I don't know whether it's very visible for you, but I'll read some of the things. So what is the management's responsibility and ERP implementation? So ERP implementation, as I told you, it touches each and every process, each and every individual in the organization. So management responsibility is pivotal in any ERP implementation. So they have to have a very active participation in processes and business rules definition, MIS and operational requirements, then creating scenarios for testing. How do you know whether what you have developed is very good for, or it is apt for your business process? So we need to have. Then there are certain activities like understanding of the ERP in a finer way, then ensuring that the change management happens, ensuring that necessary people undergo training, then monitoring of the process after go live. So typically majority of the ERP failures happen because the implementation is done well, but the change management is not that good. So I think that is, these are some of the aspects. Okay, I'll just ponder on this subject, BCP DRP. So anybody who in the audience who knows what is a BCP DRP? Anybody who can tell about BCP DRP? That one message I want to give you. No, I am making his life difficult, but typically these questions are asked always in industry. Whom should we recruit? So